Sasha Banks and Naomi have been suspended and stripped of their fake brass rings, and the machine wants you to know that they've been two naughty girls, bad Sasha and Naomi.
Hold up. It's a black-owned business in the wrestling business? Pro wrestling bits, let's go!
WWE versus Sasha Banks and Naomi took several messy turns this past weekend as WWE announced their suspensions and also stripped them of the women's tag team titles that they already yeeted on John Laurinaitis' desk. So for those keeping score at home or on some subreddit, WWE has stripped Sasha and Naomi of belts that they already gave up, and they've, air quotes, suspended Sasha and Naomi when each could have as little as 2 months left on their deals. Who sounds like they have the leverage in this situation? Like Donald Trump on Twitter, WWE's basically continuing an argument long after the other person has left the room. There's no Sasha and Naomi merch, their Facebook pages are gone. In fact, WWE used a tried and untrue formula of publicly burying talent over an issue with their contract. Desperate to control the narrative, WWE painted Sasha Banks and Naomi as unprofessional malcontents who let their fans down. That's hilarious. Where was this energy from WWE when they fired all those people during the pandemic, some of whom were slated to make millions of dollars? So does WWE now owe them an apology for not honoring those contracts and letting them down, or... Despite my sage advice from last week, WWE is activating its legion of loyalists and bottom-of-the-barrel trolls to cyberbully Sasha Banks and Naomi for leaving the plantation. All despite Sasha Banks' very public struggles with depression. What could possibly go wrong in a scenario like that? Anyway, let's get a live look at Sasha Banks' reaction to WWE scolding her and Naomi for desecrating the white man's contract. I have zero problem with Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out on their contracts in a situation that didn't work for them. I support their, air quotes, unprofessional behavior because I don't agree with the profession. Don't get me wrong, I love professional wrestling. I also love WWE for the matches, moments, and stars they've created. But when it comes to WWE contracts, I tend to empathize with talent in these situations because WWE contracts are bullshit. You're classified as an independent contractor who is told where to go and what to do, so despite being treated like an employee, you get no health insurance. You can't profit from third-party social media apps. Most of this money is not guaranteed, and WWE can back out of the contract at any moment, so if the world shuts down and you need the money, tough shit, because WWE can take that contract and be like, yeet! But if talent gets injured or breaches their contract by holding out, WWE can put them in timeout by freezing them. As a WWE superstar, you're essentially signing your rights away because of a dream, and that's why WWE can get away with criminally underpaying its talent, which is replaceable by design due to a combination of economics and bad creative. WWE has built a great business model for them. There's no denying that. But it has done so at the expense of good creative and the freedom of its own talent. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about the creative plans for Sasha Banks and Naomi. But Naomi was gonna be #1 contender for the fake Raw Women's title, and Sasha was gonna challenge Ronda Rousey for her fake brass ring. And in the long run, these long-term plans were gonna be good for Sasha and Naomi. So I don't understand why these little hood rats couldn't just show a little gratitude and fix that attitude. All this minutia about booking and what the long-term plan was when the guy holding the script is notorious for tearing it up on the day of the show. Forget about the booking and whether anybody thinks this storyline is a good idea. Take that shit to a message board. If Sasha and Naomi felt compelled to walk out, clearly it didn't work for them. And to me, that's all that matters, especially in a carny business that hands out carny contracts that are as valuable as cryptocurrency in May. I'm really only concerned with the important aspects of the story, like empowering athletes, mental health, and one concept you won't be hearing from the culturally clueless wrestling media, protecting black women. Sasha Banks takes her mental health very seriously, and she sees a therapist like everybody should. She's learned to stay ahead of her mental health and recognize the trigger points that could lead her down the road to depression. And after being in a situation filled with tension and strife, she removed herself from that situation because regardless of what anybody thinks of what the plan was, Sasha Banks and Naomi didn't like that plan. Period. That was Sasha Banks and Naomi's decision, and theirs only. Sticking with the big picture, Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out brings more attention to the contracts that they signed. Oh, those sacred WWE contracts that WWE subordinates must honor at all costs. I love how the same people who get upset with WWE for firing scores of wrestlers without notice will then turn around and get mad at wrestlers who go against their fake contract. There are hundreds of people who, when they needed those contracts most, WWE tore them up right in front of them. Nothing personal, just business, right? Well, that's how I feel about Sasha and Naomi. They didn't like the creative, so they just walked with the same amount of notice WWE gives talent before they get fired. Nothing personal, just business. Sasha and Naomi are the last of a dying breed as two people who have the spine to tell Vince McMahon and the WWE to kiss their whole ass. You know who else had that spine? Brock Lesnar. You know who makes more money than any of these wrestlers? Brock Lesnar. You know who else had that spine? Shawn Michaels. We could do this all day. The more things like this happen, the more there will be much needed public scrutiny for these WWE contracts, which support a culture of subordinates and greed. WWE signed $3 billion worth of new deals from 2018 to 2021, and the highest paid full-time WWE superstar doesn't even make $10 million. Not even close. You tell me the sports league where the owners bring in $3 billion of new revenue and then turn around and tell its athletes, you'll each get about $5 million or less. That whole league would strike faster than Ike, unless of course it was the UFC. I'd love to be a handsome fly on the wall for a conversation between a WWE superstar and an athlete from one of the major sports. The athlete would be like, wait, you get no benefits? They can freeze your contract if you get hurt and basically false imprison you? What do you mean you don't get a no trade clause? You're not allowed to make money from TikTok? They made $3 billion in new revenue and you only make $3 million? Patrick Beverly makes more than that and he's on the Timberwolves. You signed for this? Who's your agent? What do you mean you get heat if you have an agent? How old are you? Man, let me get Rich Paul on the phone right quick. While everybody twists themselves into knots talking about hypothetical booking, they're doing so at the expense of my favorite talking point in all this, protecting black women. That term means nothing to the vast majority of the wrestling media, which is why I've gone out of my way to mostly seek opinions from black wrestling platforms. Trust me, we do not all agree on Sasha Banks and Naomi's handling of this situation, but there are nuances and themes that are addressed among the black wrestling media that understands these topics better than any. Had Sasha gone off on her own, the narrative would have quickly become about how this emotionally unstable, angry black woman is hard to deal with. The Sasha and Naomi component presents a united front, as Naomi, who's just as frustrated, held it down and stood by her sister. Suddenly, singling out Sasha Banks as the angry black woman is no longer in play. They're protecting each other. And no, that doesn't mean anything to the internet wrestling monolith, but for me, it's the most important message in this whole saga. And one of the many reasons I'm standing by Sasha Banks and Naomi, May's Black Wrestlers of the Month, because they're acting like WWE superstars, not WWE subordinates, who will get taken advantage of at every turn the longer they hide in fear. Was WWE wrong for suspending, stripping, and scolding Sasha and Naomi? Will cooler heads prevail? Tell me in the comments.